before working together, we used to work in person at the gym. I'm curious, man, like what's your experience been like since we started with the online setting? What do you feel has been like the biggest win for you?
Um, I think it's really just been the flexibility to, kind of work out at my own pace with what works with my schedule, but then also have a preset developed, plan that's tailored to what I'm looking for, and my goals. And I think that, over the last 6 weeks has been super helpful and it's worked. The plan that you gave me has worked really well. I've, noticed significant improvement in all the areas I was looking to, kind of build. And yeah, really happy with the results and the flexibility it gave me, so far.
That's awesome, man. That's awesome. I think I say this on a lot of calls with people, but like usually my clients don't need more than like 2 days a week, sometimes three, to get the results they're after. But you're the type of person that loves working out. So like you have I think like a 5 day split, and you just like crush almost every workout. So it's cool to be able to work with somebody like you. When it comes to like the progress in terms of like building muscle, do you feel like you're content with what progress you made over the past like 6 weeks, since we started like the phase?
Yeah, I mean, there's always room for improvement, but I think I'm very happy, with where I've gone to, over the last 6 weeks. Like, I think, I kind of came in, I recently moved to a new country, so I was, kind of unfamiliar with like where I should be going to eat, like how my diet, would change. But then also like working out in a new gym, like equipment's totally different. And like, I'm not sure, if the machine they have is exactly the same in terms of the muscle groups it trains to the one I'm used to. So having someone like you to ask like all those questions to, and get like a tailored, workout plan, that changes, dynamically as much as I need it to, with, what with how my lifestyle changes has been great. And then also how it's been able to adapt to me traveling. I'm a lot of the time away from like a, large scale gym. So having the ability to, ask you based on the equipment I have available, like what I should be doing and, how I can still continue my split, even when away, has been super helpful and has, worked super well for me so far.
That's awesome, dude. I'm glad it's been working well. And like I see the notifications on the app that you just like crush the workouts, like you follow through, you take action. That's the biggest thing. And that's the type of clients I love working with. They're just like people that are action takers that want to get results. Just makes my job easier, makes it more enjoyable. And I don't know if you would agree with this, but I feel like almost every call we've done on our check-in calls, accountability calls really have just been like almost like a win call. Like I ask you like what's a win, and it's pretty much just like positive. There haven't really been I know you had like the thing with the deadlift. We had some modifications we need to make, but like for the most part, like it's just jumping on the call with you has been like easy. It's just like everything's working. Let's keep the progress or let's tweak things. It was never like I've had other people in the past I used to work with where it's like I have to really hold them accountable. Like, dude, you told me you wanted to get into shape. Like, let's stay on top of these things. I never had to run with any of that with you. It was always like, dude, like you're just making progress and like staying consistent. So that's cool.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, I think, working out for me is a big stress reliever. And I also just feel better after I do it. I'll have a week, maybe where I don't work out. I mean, I know this is, not a lot of time for some people, but like, I don't work out for 3 days in a row and I just feel like total crap, after. And I'm like, I gotta get back into the gym. I gotta, so I think the motivation kind of comes naturally to me in that sense, but, I think it's been really helpful to, if I do get stuck somewhere, like I had the, sort of problem with my hands slipping with the deadlift and getting injured because of that. And that, definitely threw me off a little bit. But, after a call with you, you just kind of walk me through ways I can avoid that in the future and, how to help it heal quicker. I think that really restored my confidence quickly. And so, yeah, super, super useful there. But no, it's been really nice. I also really like the, like screen with, the everyone's workouts that gets posted. Definitely is a big motivator for me. If I am, sitting around watching a movie or something and I see, oh, like X so and so, just did a workout and broke 3 records. I'm like, oh, I better get in the gym. Like,
Yeah, dude.
time to go. So I've really been liking that too.
That's awesome. Yeah, even as me as a coach, like when I see those coming through, there are sometimes days where like I haven't worked out yet, and I'm like, I need to get my workout, and I have like all these notifications piling in. So it's cool. I'm glad it's been helpful. And I know you and I focused more on like the training side of things. We touched a little bit on nutrition, but I know the biggest emphasis for you is like getting stronger, building muscle. But one thing I wanted to just briefly touch on with the nutrition side is that I think is a super, super common question I get like almost all the time. You asked a couple times, maybe once or twice, about like whey protein powder and like what type was best and also if you needed it. And I think that's like a common thing with a lot of people. They think like you need to take supplements, they need to take protein powder to like build muscle. And I know we kind of chit chatted a little bit about that. But I was curious for you. I know we made some tweaks into like what types of foods are best because you do, if I remember correctly, like a lot more lower carbs, right? Like
Yeah.
you don't tend to use a ton of carbs, right?
Yeah, yeah, yeah,
Yes,
exactly.
I'm kind of the same. Like I eat carbs, but I prefer higher fats for the most part. Almost like a 60-40. Like 60% of the time I'm higher fats, low carb. The other 40% it's like kind of like medium carbs. But I know you were somebody that ask questions about like what type of protein powder should be best. And I'm curious, just like when it comes to like overall protein sources, like do you feel like you got a better grasp of like what foods are good for you and your goals with like building muscle?
Yeah, definitely. I think I've definitely had my diet become a lot more balanced over the last, few weeks. Before doing this, I was really eating like, I just have like a piece of chicken with like no seasoning on it or anything. And it'd be like, it's good protein, but like you're definitely not getting in those other groups that you need. So I think this has really helped me like, educate me on, okay, you should be getting, this much protein, this much fiber, that sort of like you need to focus on these other foods because they're actually contributing to your health. And I think I've been a lot more just like energetic and like overall like healthy because of that. I've definitely had like noticeable improvements. And then with supplements, like after we talked, I definitely started creatine a few weeks ago, which has been super helpful. But there was a lot of other stuff that I was like curious about that, was kind of like, okay, this is probably a waste of time. So was able to save a lot of money, just by skipping those and probably look just as good as I would had I, if not better than had I taken those. Um, I still definitely want to try like whey isolate. That was something you recommended. I haven't gotten around to go buying it yet, but definitely something on my list. But no, it's like super helpful to have you, answer all my questions regarding all that stuff. It's just there's like so much information on YouTube and you never know like whether it's actually, real or whether the person's telling the truth or they're just trying to sell some product. So it's super helpful to have like an unbiased person to talk to about that.
Definitely. I think the big thing really is just like figuring out what works. Cause like there, I'm sure are people, maybe outliers that are like putting out false information, but I think most of it is accurate. It's just a matter of like you knowing or not knowing if it's going to work for you. So like it was cool to be able to know like your previous history, like foods you ate, like what you like, preference. I always like to make it easy. So like myself, years in the past when I first got in my journey, I would eat like certain foods like chicken and rice, plain, boring, bland foods that I got sick of. And then I would get, after 3, 4 weeks, I would be like, I can't do this anymore. And I would jump back to like eating like just complete opposite, like junk food. And then I started to realize like you don't have to eat this specific foods. You just have to more so like tailor your macros. And I know for you, like we were just consistent with like trying to have you hit your protein target. And like that was really the only thing we focused on for you was just like try to hit this protein target and you'll be in a good spot. And I mean, the photo check-ins show a lot of like progress. So like I'll let those kind of speak for themselves. Um, like, would you agree though?
Yeah, definitely. And I mean, I wasn't the best about always checking in every day for protein, but just having that as like something on my mind, that I should be like accounting for every day really helps a lot of ways. Like I'd come back from, like a long day where I'm working a lot, could be like, oh, I only had one meal today. Like I should probably have a protein shake or something. So just, planting that kind of thought in my head that, I need to hit this certain goal every day, was super helpful. And like having you, like text me every week, like, hey, like, how's it going? Like, have you been hitting your protein target? And I'll be like, oh, like I need to be better about that. So that was super helpful for me.
That's awesome. That's awesome. I always like to ask questions like that, even though I can see anyways. Like just as like almost like I already know the answer. Like I could see you only ate X number of grams of protein, unless you just like didn't put it in. But I always like to just like make sure you have what you need. Cool. And like the real thing for me is like I talk about this in some of my other videos, whether like on my YouTube channel or my Instagram. My goal is never to have like people I work with be monotonous to a T, writing down every minute food that they eat and weighing things out with the scale and whatnot. I had friends I grew up with that were like bodybuilders or powerlifters that did that, and I found it obsessive. And when I tried to do it, it was just like it made it difficult for me to stay consistent with. So I always want to get my clients through like I have 6 pillars I use, like frameworks I use for my coaching. And I know when we started, we didn't talk a ton about that, but basically, like the sixth and final pillar is intuitive implementation, which is basically like where you can kind of just eyeball these things. And I talked about that in some of my other videos, like with my training, with my nutrition. These are things that I pretty much just have a good grasp over now because I practiced for a while, like getting reps in with like hitting the protein, hitting the fats, and eventually getting like a sense over my carbs and my calories. And so that's what I try to do with my clients as well. It's like just get you through that sixth pillar where like, okay, now you can just like kind of step away. You don't have to worry so much because you've just gotten used to it and you're just like kind of free balling like the foods you're putting in. And it gets easier to maintain. Also less mental stress that way. Your cortisol, which is your stress hormone, which leads to fat gain, that's just gonna, be decreased because you don't have to be constantly stressed over like I need to hit my macros, right? Just because you're getting consistent with it. So glad to hear that like for you it's been like solid. I'm curious, I have like just one more question, I guess, before we kind of wrap up. Do you have any specific like feedback in terms of like anybody that might be on the fence with my program or hesitant about like if my client will get them if my client results process will get them the results thereafter in my program? Do you feel like with the other guys in the community and the process itself, do you think it's something that you would recommend? Do you feel like it would be something that would be worth them getting into, or do you feel like if they do have some doubts, like what would you kind of say, I guess, to that type of person?
Yeah. I mean, I think there's two different answers to that depending on kind of where you are. Like if your issue is accountability, I think this is a great program for you. I think having someone to check in with every week and like uh, motivate you and, having like a community that is around you that is also on a similar like journey, I think is super, super useful. So, to that person, I'd say give it a shot, try it for a month, see what you think. And like, really try and like interact with every aspect of the program, so that you get like the full effect. And if it, so then the other answer, if it's someone like myself who's already going to the gym consistently, like pretty confident in what they're doing, I'd say, like I think the program's super useful just first like switching up your workout routine. Like, if your goal, like my goal was to like really tone up and like, add like visible muscle mass. But if, your goal is to put on weight or whatever, I think it's super useful to have someone that like knows what they're talking about to guide you through that process so you don't do it the wrong way. The videos that you made, of you doing each workout with like the little audio description of like how you should be properly doing it and like what you should be looking out for was super helpful for me. Like still like almost every set, if I'm, I'll watch that just to get a pointer on, what I should be looking out for and like how I should be doing this the proper way. And it's definitely just like made me more confident in the gym. Like I don't feel like I'm doing something stupid. Like if other people are like looking at me, it's like, well, like I'm doing the right thing. Like, so that's been really nice. I've just felt more confident in like the workouts I've been doing. And and I think it's cool. Like I've had people come up to me and be like, oh, like I've never seen someone do that before. Like, what does that help? And I can like actually give them like a explanation like what I'm doing and like show them the videos and like they're usually like, oh, that's really cool. Like I wish I could try that. Um, so I think that's been nice. But yeah, I really enjoyed the program overall. I would recommend it to, anybody who's interested in getting more serious about their fitness journey.